So, Hare Krishna everyone. I welcome you all to our Srimad Bhagavatam class. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's very nice of you to come and be part of our journey together. So today we are be covering the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Chapter 7, Shloka 38. So this chapter is titled Scheduled Incarnation, where Lord Brahma is remembering all the incarnations that has appeared and also the incarnations which are going to appear in this world. So last week we covered the Lord's appearance as Vyasdev, his literary incarnation, and today we are going to talk about the Brahmaji is remembering that Lord is also going to come in Kaliyuga as Kaliki. And what will be the condition of Kaliyuga? Because Kaliki comes in the age of Kali. What is going to happen? So Brahmaji is talking about what is going to happen in Kaliyuga millions of years back. So you can see how Brahmaji, he could see what is going to happen. So in Shloka 38, we have a very wonderful description of what things will be in Kaliyuga. Some of the things are already happening and some horrible things are going to happen in future. So these are there in the Shloka 38. And then, Lord Brahma is going to talk about the three Murti, the three Guna Avatar, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. So he's going to talk about that also. So let's start by Shloka 38. So anybody like to read translation and purport of Shloka 38, please now.
I'm happy to do it, Rishi, if nobody else is around.
Yes, go ahead, Ajit, please. Thank you.
Translation. Thereafter, at the end of Kali Yuga, when there exists no topics on the subject of God, even at the residences of so-called saints and respectable gentlemen of the three higher castes, and when the power of government is transferred to the hands of ministers elected from the low-born Shudra class or those less than them, and when nothing is known of the techniques of sacrifice, even by word, at that time the Lord will appear as the supreme chastiser. Purport. The symptoms of the worst conditions of the material world at the last stage of this age, called Kali Yuga, are stated herein. The sum and substance of such conditions is godlessness. Even the so-called saints and higher castes of the social orders, generally known as the Dvijajanas or the twice-born, will become atheists. As such, all of them will practically forget even the holy name of the Lord and what to speak of his activities. The higher castes of society, namely the intelligent class of men guiding the destinies of the social orders, the administrative class of men guiding the law and order of the society, and the productive class of men guiding the economic development of the society, must all be properly well versed in knowledge of the Supreme Lord, knowing factually his name, quality, pastimes, entourage, paraphernalia, and personalities. The saints and the higher castes or orders of the society are judged by their proportion of knowledge in the science of God or Tattva Jnana, and not by any kind of birthright or bodily designations. Such designations, without any knowledge of the science of God and practical knowledge of devotional service, are considered to be all decorations of dead bodies. And when there is too much inflation of these decorated dead bodies in the society, there develop so many anomalies in the progressive, peaceful life of the human being. Because of the lack of training or culture in the upper section of the social orders, there are no more to be designated as the Dvijajanas or the twice born. The significance of being twice born has been explained in many places in these great literatures, and again, one is reminded herewith that birth, executed by the sex life of the father and the mother, is called animal birth. But such animal birth and progress of life on the animal principles of eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating, without any scientific culture of spiritual life, is called the Shudra life, or to be more explicit, the uncultured life of the lower class of men. It is stated herein that the governmental power of society in the Kaliyuga will be passed over to the uncultured, godless laborer classes of men, and thus the Naddevas or the ministers of the government will be the Vrishalas or the uncultured lower class men of society. No one can expect any peace and prosperity in a human society full of uncultured lower classes of men. The symptoms of such uncultured social animals are already in vogue, and it is the duty of the leaders of men to take note of it and try to reform the social order by introducing the principles of twice born men trained in the science of God consciousness. This can be done by expanding the culture of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. In the degraded condition of human society, the Lord incarnates as the Kalki avatar and kills all the demonic without mercy. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you so much. Translation again. Thereafter, at the end of Kaliyuga, when there exist no topics on the subject of God, even at the residence of so-called saints and respectable gentlemen of the three higher caste, and when the power of government is transferred to the hands of ministers elected from the low-born Shudra class or those less than them, and when nothing is known of the techniques of sacrifice even by the word, at that time the Lord will appear as the supreme chastiser. So Lord Brahma, he is talking about the appearance of Kalki. So Kalki, Lord Kalki comes at the end of Kali Yuga. The duration of Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. 432 and 3 zeros, 432,000 years. Of that, we have only passed just 5,000 years of Kali Yuga. So we are just at the beginning of Kali Yuga. The deterioration has already started. Kali Yuga started as soon as Krishna left this world. So till then it was Dwapar Yuga, and as soon as Krishna left the Kalki, the Kali Yuga, the personality of Kali. If you remember the story of in the Srimad Bhagavatam, right in the first chapters of first canto, the Kali entered into this world and he wanted a space. And then Parikshit Maharaj gave him the space where all the irreligious activities are happening. The intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, and meat eating. So these places and the gold, or the wealth, well, the wealth is not used in the service of the Lord. That wealth, the Kali resides. So since then, the Kali, it is starting his influence all over the world. And in the influence of Kali and all the symptoms they are mentioned here. So these are slowly degrading. So we'll take, point by point. So Brahmaji is saying the first thing is that at the end of Kaliga, when there exists no topics of the subject of God, even at the residence of so-called saints and respected gentlemen of the three higher caste. So as the Kali progresses, the God consciousness or the godly people or the spiritual life, it is going to gradually diminish, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. And this we do not need the proof. You can see in our own life. The, the gross ignorance of the society, it is increasing such a faster rate. Just a few years back, people were, so happy. Even with the less material possessions, they were simply happy. and their source of happiness was that they were engaged in the service of the Lord. They were very happy. And now with the advancement of material civilization, so many facilities and so many amenities are available. They think this is all for sense gratification, and slowly, in pursuit to become happy, people are becoming more and more fearful, anxiety, rude, and always in a disturbed condition. uh, and they have no clue, or they have no interest in God consciousness. So it is increasing day by day, and it will increase in such a way that here Brahmaji is saying that there exists no topics of the subject of God. People will have no interest in the subject of God. Uh, we are, few people, come every week, to discuss Bhagavatam and Krishna Katha. Uh, so we are still there. There are some people, every day in the morning, wherever the temples are there, the Mangalarti, and few select people, they still come in the temple and hear Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. It is still there, but the majority, they are not interested. But there the time will come one day where nobody will be interested. To such an extent that so-called the saintly people, they are supposed to guide the society. Even they will be in and not interested. In fact, here they say they'll become atheist. They are saint, but they are atheist. They do not believe in God. So such time will come. And when the government transferred to the hands of ministers elected from the low-born Shudra class or those less than them. And there, Brahmaji is talking about the second class, which is the second Varna, which is Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas, they are in charge of keeping the law and order in the society. Now, saintly people, they are called Brahmanas. They guide the society with the spiritual knowledge, and Kshatriyas, their duty is to make sure that this knowledge and the whole system is properly kept, so law and order is nicely kept. And both of them require a nice spiritual education, because without spiritual education, they cannot perform their duty. So here Brahmaji is saying that the Kshatriyas, the power of government will go into the low class Shudras. Now, who are the Shudra? The Shudra here, Prabhupada defines, Prabhupada gives very wonderful, explanation of who are the Shudras. So, so we have four Varnas: Brahman, Kshatriya, Shudra, Vaishya, and Shudra. Now, the three Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, they are called twice born, because they go to a purificatory process. And the Shudras, they are called the uncultured. They do not take, they are not called twice born. Now, what is this two birth? So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the first birth is by the getting the birth of the gross body by the union of male and a female, and a body comes out, and that birth, it is non-different than any other animal birth. We see in this world, it's not that only humans are born, the animals are also born. You look at the insects, animals, or birds. Uh, they also, lots of birth is happening. So a human being born and an animal is born. Actually, there is no difference. A body, a living body comes out. So human birth, that way, just taking the birth from mother and father, it is as good as animal birth. And then after taking that birth, the animals, they engage into these four major activities: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They eat, they sleep, they have family life, and then they defend. They defend their possessions, they defend their territory. And after taking and the human also, after taking that birth, if the human also just engage into the eating, sleeping, mating and defending, then that is called a Shudra birth or Shudra life, or the life of uncultured civilized people. Because these people, they have taken an animal birth and the animal propensities, then they are just called Shudra. They are uncultured people. They do not have anything in life other than just sense gratification, sense enjoyment, just like animal. They only have, how do I, eat, where do I sleep, where do I get my opposite sex partner, and if anybody attacks my possessions, my territories, I will defend it with my claws and with my wings and with my poison and so forth and so on. And human, we also, I also know right from the beginning, I want to eat. How can I eat? Shall I go to restaurant or eat this or eat that? We might be eating with a knife and fork in a nice posh restaurant, but the activity is still the same, eating. uh, then the birds sleep and animals sleep, and we also sleep. We sleep into our, king size bed, with the nicely expensive mattress, and and so many things, TV coming out of the edge of the bed, very fancy bed, but the activity is still the same, sleeping. Animals sleep and we sleep. After a hard day's work, we sleep. And then we defend. The animals, they protect their, nest, or they protect their territory, and we protect our house, with our insurance and bank balance and weapons and so many things. So they defend, we defend. And then we have a family life. We look for the, opposite sexual partner, and then, we enjoy our bodies, and then we have family. The animal also, the same thing. They also after the same enjoyment. So if our activities are just matching with the animals, then it is a very uncultured life, Shudra life. So this life, Shudra life, and animal life are still same. So this is called as one birth. With the twice born, in the second birth, the person, he approaches a spiritual master, and he tries to understand the purpose of life. Uh, who am I? What is God? What is my relationship with God? And he tries to understand the higher truths of this world. He accepts the authority of the Guru and gets educated. And then, according to his propensities, he either accepts the occupation of Brahmana, so he guides the society. After getting that education, after the second birth, after accepting the Guru, either he takes the occupation as a Brahmana, or he accepts the occupation as a Kshatriya, so into law enforcement or the administration, and or he takes into the mercantile occupation, the business or agriculture or cow protection. So these three are called higher caste, or they are called twice born. So they under the guidance of the spiritual master. After getting the proper spiritual education, they very nicely organize the society. Uh, and the Shudras, those who are uncultured, the those who have only sense enjoyment as the only purpose of their life, they engage themselves in the service of these three higher castes. But here, Lord Brahma says that the governmental power uh, will go to the Shudra class, those who are uncultured people, those who have only eating, sleeping, mating, and defending as the only purpose of their life. The governmental power will go to this class of people. And Prabhupada, he writes one line here, I'll just repeat it again. No one can expect any peace and prosperity in a human society full of uncultured lower classes of men. The symptoms of such uncultured social animals are already in vogue, and it is the duty of the leaders of the men to take note of it and try to reform the social order by introducing the principles of twice born men trained in the science of God consciousness. So when the administration is in the Shudra class, then you cannot expect uh, any peace or prosperity. And why is it that? Uh, uh, the most prevalent the political system is democracy, uh, and the democracy, as Brahmaji says, the people will have less and less proclivity, less and less inclination towards God consciousness. So people will be interested in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending only. A very very low uncultured life. But it is the duty of the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas and even the Vaishyas also to make such an arrangement that everybody comes to the God consciousness again. But if the uncultured class, the Shudra, if they take over the government power, what they will do, because their life, their purpose is to just enjoy. So if the people are if the subjects or the general population is only interested in sense enjoyment, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, they will only elect those people. They are also trying to support their activity. So, for example, uh, if the people are interested into say drugs, or alcohol, if more and more people are just interested in this intoxication, any political party which says we'll make the alcohol free, or we'll make the drugs legalized, people will vote for that party, because as they are supporting our our sense gratification. But a person comes says, no, I will come and take the drugs from the society, and I'll make sure the factories which are producing the alcohol, I'll shut it down. Who is going to elect them? Uh, so Brahmaji is saying that the power will go to them, and Prabhupada explains in the purport, when the government goes to the power of Shudra class, you cannot expect any peace or prosperity in the society. Uh, but still, we are just the beginning of Kaliyuga. There are still saintly people are there. There are still some nice, God conscious rulers are still there. And then because of that, there is still, we can see some resemblance of law and order in the society. But as the time passes, everything will just degrade. Uh, and at the end, the Kali Yuga will have such a horrible uh, you know, way of life you can't even imagine. It is not mentioned here, but next in the in the future cantos, it is said that the people will be so engrossed in sense gratification, so grossly just interested in sense gratification, and because the government will be in the hands of Shudras, there'll be no agriculture, there's food will be scarce, there'll be no resources, practically no grain or food will be produced on the earth. And so what will people eat? People still want to eat, so what they will eat? So it is mentioned at the peak of Kali Yuga, the mothers will only produce their children to eat them. That will be the horrible condition of the society. Uh, and we see some resemblance, that now the abortions, it is becoming normal thing. Uh, the mothers are not eating, but they're killing the children. So it is not there yet, but the small symptoms are starting. When any disease starts in the body, the disease just does not appear, just at as a click. But the small symptom comes, a little itching sensation comes, or your eyesight goes down, but slowly disease is taking over. So slowly the Kali is taking over. uh, so we have 427,000 years to go of this Kali Yuga. But I'm after narrating such a horrible things about Kali Yuga, let's look at some positivity of Kali Yuga. Uh, So Shukdev Goswami in the Bhagavatam, at the end of the Bhagavatam, uh, uh, he mentions that to Shukdev Parikshit Maharaj, that Kaler Dosha Nitirajan Astir Ek Mahan Guna Kirtanad Eva Krishnasya Mukta Sangam Param Vrajet. That Kaliyuga is the ocean of faults. Kaliyuga has no good quality. Is ocean of faults. But there is one good quality, that simply by chanting the name of the Lord, you can go back home, back to Godhead. This facility, it is not provided in any other yuga. Uh, so that chanting of the holy name of the Lord, it is very potent, very effective in Kali Yuga. And by the mercy of the Lord came, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us this holy name, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He just appeared 500 years back. That and then this holy name is so potent that it gives the same benefit of the people in Satyuga when they do meditation for 60,000 years, and the purification that they get, we get the same purification or the same result of going back to Godhead simply by sincerely chanting the holy name of the Lord. Uh, so so though the Kali Yuga is ocean of faults, the uh, there is one kind of discount period is there in the middle. Uh, so within the Kali Yuga, there is a small Satya Yuga is there. So there is Satya Yuga of 10,000 years. So since Lord Chaitanya appeared from last 500 years back, the for next 10,000 years, so 9,500 more years, the power of holy name or the devotees will be very much prevalent in Kali Yuga. And it is a Lord's facility that or those who want to kind of a last train going back home back to Godhead before Kali Yuga really takes hold of it, that people can get benefit of associating with the devotees, chant the Lord's holy name, and go back home back to Godhead. So there is a small golden age within the Kali Yuga, but otherwise Kali Yuga is going to take a very horrible form as the time passes. So the Kali Yuga will still increase, but parallelly the devotional life is also will increase. Like in Corona we call it bubble. Everybody stays in their own bubble. If you stay in the bubble, you don't get infected. So we have the small bubble of devotees of 10,000 years. So those who want to have the sadhu sangha, those who want to stay with the devotees and chant the holy name, if you stay in that bubble, then Kali Yuga will not affect you. But as soon as you come out of this bubble, as like coronavirus catches you, the Kali will catch you, uh, and and we'll have a very difficult life. So better we stay in the bubble, stay in the bubble of Lord Chaitanya's army, in the Sankirtan movement. So Prabhupada, he gave us this Bhagavatam. He gave us the holy name. He gave us the various wonderful temples in the world. So best we take advantage of this facility. So it is said in Kali Yuga, Harer Nama eva kevalam, Kalau nasteva gatiranyatha. In this age of Kali, there is no other way, no other way, no other way than the chanting the holy name of the Lord. It is the only way by which we can purify ourselves. So Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam. It is the holy name only, holy name only, holy name only. 3 times it is said. This is our only shelter. And Kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva. In Kali Yuga, there is no other process, no other process, no other process. So this is our only shelter. And like when there is some disturbance in the some city or something, they like to fly away. So they like to see what is the last train or last flight or last bus which is going. So these 10,000 years of Lord Chaitanya's Hare Krishna movement, this is our last train. This is our last chance. If you don't get out, then the Kali Yuga will take over, and then we'll have no facility. Once these 10,000 years goes, then we'll have no facility. So while we have this wonderful facility of associating with the devotees, reading Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we should take the complete advantage of it. We should not be, compromising any of our spiritual activities, and it is so easy. Prabhupada says, as a devotee, we just do three things when we meet with the devotees: chanting, dancing, and feasting. We chant the holy name, we dance, and we feast. We take nice Krishna Prasadam. Uh, how can the spiritual life be more easier than this? It cannot be more easier than this. Uh, just be in the association of devotees, and our life is perfect. So this is about Shloka 38. Now let's move on to Shloka 39. So anybody like to read Shloka 39? Translation and purport, please.
Shall I read, Rohitji?
Oh, Hare Krishna Mataji, yes, yeah, join Mataji. Please go ahead, Mataji, please.
Yeah, 39, isn't it?
39, yes, Mataji.
At the beginning of creation, there are penance, myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate. Then, during the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there is religion. And then Lord Shiva and the atheists, full of anger, etc. All the three of them are different representatives, manifestations of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord. The material world is created by the energy of the Lord, which is manifested in the beginning of the creation by the penance of Brahmaji, the first living being in the creation. And then there are the 9 Prajapatis known as great sages. In the stage when the creation is maintained, there are devotional service to Lord Vishnu or factual religion, the different demigods, and the kings of different planets who maintain the world. At last, when the creation is preparing to wind up, there is first the principle of religion, then Lord Shiva, along with atheists full of anger. But all of them are but different manifestations of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahadeva, Shiva, are different incarnations of the different modes of material nature. Vishnu is the Lord of the mode of goodness, Brahma is the Lord of mode of passion, and Shiva is the Lord of mode of ignorance. Ultimately, the material creation is but a temporary manifestation meant to give the chance of liberation to the conditioned souls who are entrapped in the material world. And one who has developed the mode of goodness under the protection of Lord Vishnu has the greatest chance of being liberated by following the Vaishnava principles and thus being promoted to the kingdom of God. No more to return to this miserable material world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. It's so kind of you. Translation again. In the beginning of creation, there are penance, myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate. Then, during the maintenance of creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there is irreligion, and then Lord Shiva and the atheist full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord. So Lord Brahmaji is now talking about the famous Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahadev or Mahesh. So Brahmaji is saying that the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, along with the tapasya or tapa, that appears, and the Prajapatis for the purpose of creation. For the creation, we require the mode of passion. So Lord Brahma, he is called Guna Avatar, the Lord's Guna Avatar. So even the 3 modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, actually it is the energy of the Lord. Nothing exists outside the Lord. So for the creation, the mode of passion is required, and then the Lord Brahma is in charge of is in mode of passion, And Brahma also has penance or tapasya. So through the tapasya and with the help of all the Prajapatis or saintly rishis, they create. The Brahmaji creates the whole, the material universe, and then the Prajapatis they populate various species in this material world. And then for the maintenance, it is in charge. Lord Vishnu is in charge of the maintenance. And for the maintenance, you require mode of goodness. And Lord Vishnu, he is in charge of mode of goodness. And Lord Vishnu, he is assisted by the various kings of the various planetary system. And then the whole universe is maintained by Lord Vishnu. And when the time it comes to destroy the universe, then it requires, for destruction, it requires mode of ignorance. And Lord Shiva is in charge of mode of ignorance. So at that time, the irreligion comes. So actually, in the Lord Brahma says, for the maintenance, the time of Vishnu, the factual religion takes place. But in time for the destruction, then the irreligion is prominent. And then all the atheism, atheist, they become very prevalent. And for the destruction, mode of ignorance is required. And Lord Shiva is in charge of mode of destruction, mode of ignorance. And this is how the whole universe is maintained. Universe is created at some point in time, it is maintained, and it gets destroyed. So this is the higher level of creation, maintenance, and destruction. And then there are small creations in the middle. If you look at our own life, we are born at certain time, we survive for certain time, and at the end we die. So there also the goodness, passion, and ignorance is required. If you look at some business or some project, to create that project, you require passion. People say we are very passionate to create, so require a passion. So there's a creation happens. Then there's a maintenance. All the executives and officers, they come along, and then they maintain the project or the business. And if once every if people are not the right people and people become lax in the business, and then the ignorance comes in the business on project gets destroyed. So this goodness, passion, and ignorance, creation, maintenance, destruction, it is happening throughout throughout the material creation. Overall creation, maintenance, and destruction, and in the inside also creation, maintenance, destruction is also happening. And it is all done by the energy of the Lord. Here Lord Brahma says all of them are different representative manifestation of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord. These are all the energy of the Lord, both goodness, passion, and endurance. So Prabhupada writes, in the purport, I'll just read those lines again. Ultimately, the material creation is but a temporary manifestation meant to give the chance of liberation to the conditioned souls who are entrapped in the material world. And one who develops the mode of goodness under the protection of Lord Vishnu has the greatest chance of being liberated by following the Vaishnava principles and thus being promoted to the kingdom of God, no more to return to this miserable material world. So Prabhupada writes that this material world, it is there for a conditioned soul to enjoy or suffer their material propensities. And they go into cycle of birth, death, old age, disease, birth, death, old age, disease, birth after birth, birth after birth. We are going in circle and circle and circle. But then we have the opportunity that if we choose to be under the protection of mode of goodness or Lord Vishnu, then we have a chance to come out of cycle of birth and death and return, go back home, back to Godhead. So we have to develop this mode of goodness. Passion and ignorance, it is everywhere. You don't have to even try to acquire that. It is everywhere. But it takes some effort to be in the mode of goodness. Mm. Uh, to rise early in the morning and chant Krishna's name, and do the deity worship, and and serve the Lord. It it is it is possible only when you have the mode of goodness. So rising early in the morning and chanting our rounds, it is very difficult. It is not easy. Uh, but if you do it, it gives that the super you know uh, uh, supremely powerful benediction of the Lord, uh, of taking shelter at His lotus feet. When we apply Prabhupada says, when we apply these Vaishnava principles, then we get a chance to get liberation from this world. We go back home, back to Godhead, and we never return back again. So we have to try hard to be under the protection of the Lord. Practice Vaishnava principles, and it is difficult. It is not very easy, but there is a facility given by the Lord. Sadhu Sangha. If you stay within the association of the devotees of the Lord, then these things becomes very easy. Our dear Mayapureshwari Mataji, she has given this wonderful opportunity to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra early in the morning at 6 o'clock. She so meticulously, right at 6 o'clock, the session starts. And there are so many devotees, that take advantage of coming together. So, when we have devotee association, we like to chant together. But on our own, it is difficult, rising early in the morning and chanting is difficult. But when we have devotee association, then it becomes very easy. So, to be in the mode of goodness, to apply the Vaishnava principles in our life, it is difficult. But if you have Sadhu Sangha, the Vaishnava association, in the Shastra it is said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sastra Koi, Slava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. That Sadhu Sangha, that Sadhu Sangha or the association of devotees is so powerful that even Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Lava is the fraction of a second. The time it takes to blink our eyes, and if take a fraction of that, that is called Lava. So Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, even that much you are with the devotee, it will give you the supreme benediction. Sarva Siddhi Hoy. It gives you all Siddhi. So as a devotee, we should always look forward to the association of the devotees of the Lord. And throughout our history, all our previous acharyas, they all tried to give us this one thing, sadhu sangha. So our acharyas, they built beautiful temples in those who are in South India. We are so much blessed with such a wonderful temples there, and even in North, and in so many parts of the world. Why sadhu sangha? You can go to the temple, take the darshan of the Lord, but at the same time, we associate the devotees of the Lord in the temple and try to hear from them. So with that association, we get we can easily practice our Vaishnava principles in our life, and don't be affected by this mode of passion and ignorance, and we go back to Godhead. So that is Shloka 39. Now we'll do just last Shloka for today, Shloka 40. So anybody would like to read Shloka 14 now, please? Achha. Prerana, she will read.
Shloka 40. Who can describe completely the
14 वाले
powers
सुनते
of Vishnu? Even the scientist who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so, because it is he only who in his form of Trivikram moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet Satyaloka up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature, and all were moved. Purport. The highest scientific advancement of the material scientists is atomic energy. But the material scientist is not able to have an estimation of the particles of atoms contained in the whole universe. But even if one is able to count such atomic particles or is able to roll off the sky like one's bedding, even then one is unable to estimate the extent of the prowess and energy of the Supreme Lord. He is known as Trivikram because once, in his incarnation of Vamana, he expanded his leg beyond the highest planetary system, Satyaloka, and reached the neutral state of the modes of nature called the covering of the material world. There are 7 layers of material coverings over the material sky, and the Lord could penetrate even those coverings. With his toe, he made a hole through which the water of the causal ocean filters into the material sky, and the current is known as the sacred Ganges, which purifies the planets of the 3 worlds. In other words, no one is equal to the transcendently powerful Vishnu. He is omnipotent and no one is equal to or greater than him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prayer. Translation again. Who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? Even the scientist who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so, because it is he only who in his form of Trivikrama moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyaloka, up to the neutral planet of the 3 modes of material nature, and all were moved. So Brahmaji here now remembering the Lord's incarnation as the Vamanadev, or is also called Trivikrama. So Brahmaji is saying, who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? So Lord Vishnu's power, Lord Brahma says, nobody can describe. He is so powerful, he can't, it is beyond our imagination. And now we say many times, beyond imagination, but we do not actually understand the gravity of this statement, beyond imagination. Imagination means it can take you, to wherever fantasy that you have, it can take you there. So here, Brahmaji, he is saying one of his imagination. He says that even the scientists who might have counted the particles of atoms of the universe cannot do so. So this is imagination. That this whole material universe, it is composed of this finer granule matter called atom. So within this 1 square inch of space, how many atoms are there? Trillions of atoms are there within just 1 square inch. So how much atoms are there in the earth? Then how much atoms are there in the various planets? Then how many atoms are there in the entire universe? Can anybody count that? But Brahmaji says, actually it is not possible to count. But even if it is not able to do that, but even if somebody counts the number of atoms in this material world, if somebody becomes even that powerful that they can count the number of atoms in the whole material universe, even if you are that powerful, still you cannot understand the power of Lord Vishnu. So it is beyond imagination. Can we imagine somebody can count the number of atoms? We cannot imagine. So it is beyond imagination. So even if Brahma says, even if somebody counts, even then they cannot understand actually the power of Lord Vishnu. And then he remembers the appearance of Lord Trivikrama. He said, Brahmaji gives just one example how Lord is so powerful. So we know the story of Vamanadev. Vamanadev came to ask for the 3 pieces of land from Amrish Maharaj, not Amrish, Bali Maharaj. And we did 3 steps. With the first step, he covered the upper planetary system. With the second, the lower planetary system. And then there was no space, to keep his third step. So within 2 steps, he covered the entire universe, and there's nothing was left. Without 2 steps, how much land we can cover? Uh, but he covered the entire universe, all planetary system within just 2 steps. Uh, and here Prabhupada mentions that those 2 steps also were such a very congested steps for the Lord. So much congested that Lord, uh, his toe cracked open the layer of this universe. Our each universe, it is covered by the 7 layers. Uh, the 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, and then the uh, uh, other 2 subtle, mind and intelligence. Mm. So these 7 layers, they are covering the whole universe, and Lord, he cracked this shell. uh, and because all universes, they are floating in Karan ocean, or the causal ocean. So the water of Karan ocean, it actually washed the toe or the feet of the Lord, and then that water became the river Ganga. So that water actually was taken by Lord Brahma and all the demigods, and it was kept into the higher planetary system. Uh, so Lord Brahma is remembering that how Lord is so great, that within 2 steps, he covered the entire universe. And then he gives this one imagination that even if somebody can count the atoms of the universe, still they cannot understand the power of Lord Vishnu. Prabhupada actually gives one more in analogy. He says somebody can even, I'll just read it exactly what he says. But even if one is able to count such atomic particles, or is able to roll up the sky like one's bedding, he says one roll up the sky like one's own bedding. So when you see in the sky, there are so many stars are there. Uh, so in the whole universe, there are so many stars are there. And he says even if you are able to roll it, that means it is so easy that you can understand how the various stars are there. To roll up our bedding, nowadays we don't roll up our bedding. Our beds are always made. But even if we're able to roll up our duvet or anything, so easy to do. Yeah? So even if you're able to understand the whole universe, uh, still you cannot understand the Lord. Uh, uh, our own, NASA's and all our, astronomers, they're trying to understand the universe. They're spending, billions of pounds, dollars and pounds, to send all these instruments, this James Webb telescope in the sky, to understand how the universe came about. So difficult to understand this whole universe. Uh, so Prabhupada here writes, even if you're able to understand universe just like rolling up your bed, still you cannot understand the Supreme Lord. Lord is so great. So in this shloka, Lord Brahmaji is remembering the greatness of Lord Vishnu. So we stop here, and if anybody has any questions or comments, you can ask now. I'll just stop.